Independent editorial defense analysis focused on Australia's strategic environment.
The era of permissive logistics is over. For decades, supply lines remained uncontested and air transport operated with relative impunity. That chapter has definitively closed for the Australian Defence Force. As the strategic focus shifts toward the Indo-Pacific, a new operational reality takes hold. Transport aircraft are no longer mere utility vehicles operating safely in the rear. They are now high-value targets, forced to operate within the engagement envelopes of sophisticated anti-access systems. This fundamental shift necessitates a re-evaluation. We must look at how Australia structures its air mobility and electronic warfare capabilities, not as separate procurement streams, but as an interdependent survival system. The intersection of the C-130J transport fleet and the incoming MC-55A Peregrine represents a critical case study in this systemic evolution. It highlights both the technological ambition and the structural fragility of the modernized Australian air power model. Recent developments surrounding the Royal Australian Air Force C-130J fleet serve as a primary indicator of this doctrinal pivot. The notification of a potential foreign military sale, valued at approximately $130 million for advanced training systems, is significant. It is not merely a routine maintenance of currency. Instead, it suggests a qualitative leap in how the Air Force intends to employ its tactical transport. The specific inclusion of threat simulation and advanced mission rehearsal capabilities indicates a shift in mindset. The Air Force acknowledges that the C-130J will likely be required to operate in contested electromagnetic environments. In a conflict scenario involving peer adversaries, the ability of a transport aircraft to deliver troops to northern forward bases depends entirely on one factor: its capacity to evade detection. However, the C-130J, regardless of its onboard defensive aids, remains a large, slow-moving radar target. This physical reality forces the defense architecture to seek an external solution. This is where the MC-55A Peregrine enters the architectural calculus. It arrives not merely as an intelligence collector, but as an essential enabler for the survival of the wider force. Procured under Project AIR 555, the Peregrine is intended to provide complex electronic warfare support. Its role is to sanitize the airspace for other assets. By integrating high-altitude electronic sensing with the tactical movements of the transport fleet, defense planners are attempting to construct a protective electronic bubble. The MC-55A is designed to locate enemy radar emitters. It maps the threat landscape in real time, allowing logistics aircraft to thread the needle through adversary air defense networks. However, viewing these two platforms as a functional pair reveals significant structural tensions within the Australian force design. The most immediate constraint is the asymmetry in fleet numbers. While the government has committed to a robust fleet of 20 new C-130J 30 aircraft, the planned acquisition of the MC-55A remains capped at 4 airframes. From a systems analysis perspective, this ratio introduces a severe bottleneck. The tyranny of distance inherent to the Australian operating environment, combined with maintenance cycles, suggests a difficult reality. Sustaining even a single MC-55A on continuous station would strain a 4-aircraft fleet to its breaking point. Consequently, the operational concept relies on a specific dynamic: a high-density logistics fleet being protected by a low-density, high-demand electronic warfare asset. If the Peregrine is unavailable due to maintenance or attrition, the survivability of the tactical transport fleet degrades precipitously. Furthermore, the technological integration required to make this system work introduces deep sovereignty challenges. The MC-55A is built upon a Gulfstream airframe, but is packed with proprietary mission systems developed by U.S. defense primes. For the C-130J and MC-55A to operate as a coherent package, they must share threat data seamlessly. This level of integration drives Australia deeper into the U.S. technical ecosystem. It potentially limits the ability of the Royal Australian Air Force to independently modify mission data files without external assistance. While AUKUS Pillar 2 promises to accelerate the transfer of advanced technologies, the immediate reality is one of profound dependency. Operational sovereignty is effectively tethered to the software update cycles of foreign manufacturers. The financial dimensions of this approach also reveal a preference for exquisite platforms over distributed mass. The program cost for the MC-55A, estimated at over 2.5 billion Australian dollars, reflects an immense expense. This expenditure competes directly with alternative approaches, such as the proliferation of lower-cost, unmanned electronic warfare decoys. By investing heavily in a manned platform like the Peregrine, defense planners are making a significant wager. They are betting that the cognitive flexibility of a human crew remains superior to autonomous alternatives in a complex electronic order of battle. Moreover, the logistical footprint of the MC-55A complicates the distributed basing concept known as agile combat employment. While the C-130J is designed for rough field operations, the Gulfstream-based Peregrine requires different infrastructure. If the strategic intent is to disperse forces across northern Australia, the support tail of the electronic warfare fleet becomes a limiting factor. A failure to harmonize the basing requirements of the protector and the protected would result in an operational disjoint. Ultimately, the synergy between the C-130J and the MC-55A represents a microcosm of the broader Australian defense dilemma. The strategy relies on achieving disproportionate effects through technological superiority rather than mass. It assumes that a small number of exquisitely capable aircraft can render the battle space transparent. This approach places an immense burden on the reliability of the technology. If the network is jammed or severed, the system reverts to its constituent parts: a handful of vulnerable business jets and a fleet of transport aircraft exposed to modern missile threats. The effectiveness of this force structure depends not just on the performance of individual sensors, but on whether the organizational base can sustain such a tightly coupled system in the face of combat attrition.